Chair recognizes the Honorable Henry Yanez.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Honorable, wow. I got a high school counselor who never thought that was ever going to happen. So thank you and farewell. First, the thank yous. So, like probably most of us, I struggled a little bit about what am I going to say? I've been here for 6 years. There's been their ups and downs, and I thought, well, I had the opportunity, since I'm going to go next to last, to listen to all the other speeches before me and get some ideas of what I want to say. And one of the speeches that stuck with me was the very first speech from our good friend Chris Affandoulis. And I'm sitting there listening to Chris's very good speech, and I'm waiting for him to thank his wife. And I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I'm thinking, dude, it's your wife. You got to thank her. And finally he did. And so the next day he was over on our side, and I said, listen, Chris, I don't know if it's because I've been married longer than you or more times than you, but man, you really got to thank your wife earlier, And he says to me, Henry, you got to say the best for last. And I thought, okay, that's an awesome sentiment. I'm going to do that. And then I started thinking about all the things I forgot to do and all the things I've left at home. I literally left half a suit at home one time, and I go, even though I got this written down, I'm not going to forget to thank my family. So, this on hand. Biting my lip, Joelle. Thank you to my wife, Jane. A woman who started out life picking up rocks out of a field and never thought that she'd be the wife of a politician. Thank you, honey. My children, why is it the men? Not one woman cried. It's the men. My children, Ryan and Nelson, who are here today. My stepdaughters, Natalie, Cassidy, daughter-in-law, Lene, son-in-law, Ryan, who we refer to as number 2, since we got 2 of them, and grandchildren, Kellen, Corin, and Hudson. Thank you, family. My staff, Robert Becker, Chris Marshoni, Rachel Reed, Tom Steinbus, Nick Strunk, Justin Smith, Bob Becker, the best staffer in the House, maybe the best staffer in Lansing. Been with me since 2010. I can't thank you enough. He kept me out of jail. And Chris Marshoni, I'd like to say, you are my kitchen cabinet, but we never ate a meal in the kitchen. We always went to a restaurant, so you're my restaurant cabinet, I guess. To the people of the 25th House District who allowed me to serve, thank you, thank you, thank you. Clerks Randall and Brown, I have to admit, I emailed this so it's in the record. I spelled, Clerk Randall, I spelled your name wrong. I apologize. But at least I pronounced it right. Thank you. But thank you for everything you did and all the guidance you gave us when we first got here to the Capitol. I also like to thank the clerk's office and the Journal staff for all the work that you do. To the sergeants for keeping us safe. I know everybody thanks the sergeants, but honest to God, this place wouldn't be the place it is without you and knowing that you do keep us safe. And Sergeant Dixon, if I ever decide to come back here and rain money down on the floor, I'm going to wait till after you retire. Those were some incredibly impressive moves. And you're not too old to wear Honolulu blue and silver because, God, they need you. I want to make special note to thank the Ombudsman for the work they do. I think that's a job that rarely gets noticed. And a special recognition to Keith Barber of Corrections. Keith is an old Macomb County boy from Utica, and he's been absolutely invaluable to me, especially when I served on corrections. It's a difficult job, and I really appreciate the help and the service that they do to the people of the state. I also want to thank all the legislative liaisons, the people who we rely on. They always answer our calls, finding out the answers to our questions. And they have to answer the same questions every 2 years, right? New people come in, and they always have the same questions, but they do it with class and grace and style, and I really appreciate the work that they do. To the Lansing Press Corps, I don't know where this country would be without a free press. I know that Lansing isn't the sexiest gig in journalism, but it's incredibly important. Never stop holding the people up here accountable. By the way, my week doesn't officially start until I listen to the MERS Monday podcast. And I'm not just saying that because I'm trying to get the MERS quote of the day. And by the way, did I mention I've never had the MERS quote of the day? Just in case you're listening. Did I mention that Jeremy Moss was a journalism major? Did I forget about that? And a special aside to Tim Skubik. Tim, I promise to keep watching Off the Record so your viewership numbers stay in the triple digits. As long as your 99 relatives live up to their end of the bargain as well. To the Magnificent Seven, the Seven Marginals. Winnie Brinks, Tom Cochran, darn it, Scott Deanda, Gretchen Driscoll, Teresa Abed, Colleen Lamonte. Winnie, congratulations. On a well-earned victory. And Scott, next time you come down to Macomb County, I have a shiny suit and a pinky ring waiting for you so you fit right in. You look like an official Macomber. And last but not least, Tom Cochran. Tom, you're a mountain of a man. Most people know that he was fire chief of Lansing, but few people know that he was also union president. Two of the toughest jobs, and he was fire chief during the Great Recession here in the state of Michigan. Tom had to make some tough choices. And when you're fire chief and union chief, you take not only enemy fire, but friendly fire as well. And Tom, your broad shoulders, you held up well, and you were a great resource for me here, and I love you, brother. Stephanie Chang, apparently I cry more than you do. If you want to do an event in Clark Park, give me a call. I'll be there for you. Phil Phelps, the quiet man. Phil, nobody knows how hard you work for your community. And I don't just mean going to lunches. I mean hard physical labor. And you do great work, and please keep it up. It does not go unnoticed. To our policy staff for keeping us informed, focused, and centered on legislation when we're being pulled in 20 different directions, thank you. To our dumb media staff, Mike, Jeremy, and Liz, thank you for making us all look good. Something I thought I'd never say to the lobby corps. When my first term and people were thanking the lobby corps, and I thought, what the heck are you thanking the lobby corps for? People hate that politicians are connected to the lobbyists, but the fact of the matter is they've given me, and I know many others, great guidance in this job and great advice. I will not name any names, but I will thank them all privately, one by one, with the exception of one, Melissa McKinley. Melissa, thank you for your work with the firefighters. They're not just clients, they're your passion. Marty Howerlick. Where are you, Marty? We come in two different packages, buddy, but we're both square pegs trying to fit in round holes. Stay independent. Doctors Bison Canfield and Chris Affendulis, thank you for reminding me what a gentleman really is and working with me when you didn't have to. David Pagel. Had I only known that there were so many moderates in this chamber, we could have started our own caucus. For an apple farmer, you did great work and showed great passion as chair of corrections, and your work has not gone unnoticed. Thank you, David. Joelle DeMann, I have a tie on. Thank you for keeping all the frogs in the wheelbarrow. Your work does not go unnoticed as well. Yusuf Rabi, I have no real reason other to thank you, other than thank you for the ever-changing facial hair. It's like working with somebody new every single week. I promise when your political career is over, I'm going to write that one-man play for you that you can star in, The Life and Times of Frank Zappa. Best of luck as Minority Floor Leader, my friend. Tim Grimel and Sam Singh, sorry I was a pain in, pick whatever part of your anatomy you want. But I appreciate all the work you did. It was tough, difficult work, trying to keep us all together and guide us in one direction. Thank you so much for all you do. Chris Gregg, I told you you'd be leader. I was just a little ahead of myself. Good luck next year. To my Macomb colleagues, do well for our county. I am rooting for you, every single one of you, both sides of the aisle. You have 10 votes. Do not be afraid to use them. And one last thing. You have 10 votes. Use them. Jeff Yarrick, you're a good man, a good friend, Jeff. Brother firefighter. Don't let this place change you. You change this place. To all my seatmates, John Switulski, Phil Kavanaugh, Jim Ananick, Pat Green. John was my mentor. Phil taught me about transcendental meditation. Seriously, he taught me about transcendental meditation. Ananick was a close second best seatmate, frankly, because he was never there, which made it. But Pat, you're the best so far, mostly because you're still here and I have to sit next to you when this speech is over, but also because you saved me a lot of money on my auto insurance. That ad was not paid for by me. To Doug Simon, Tim Bolin, and the entire staff at the Hob, Doug Simon, you are a fine beach volleyball player for a man your age. Try not to get hurt. And thank you to every worker at the Capitol and in this state for making this government run. Thank you so much. There are so many others to thank, and I will do so personally in notes and phone calls. But before I go, I want to share just a thought as part of my farewell. We all knew this day was coming. When someone retires from the fire department, we have a mustering out ceremony. Everyone gathers, the chief says a few kind words, and for some of these guys, those are the only kind words they ever heard from the chief. And then the retiree says thank yous and shares some thoughts. Invariably, the retiree will recite a quote to sum up their feelings and thoughts. I've heard quotes ranging from the likes of St. Thomas Aquinas to Porky Pig. And as I searched for my thoughts, I kept going back to an old high school teacher. And frankly, I went to high school so long ago, they are literally all old high school teachers. But you can laugh at that. But our gym coach, a guy by the name of Jim Myers, who was also a football coach and wrestling coach. And if anybody knows anything about wrestling, he's the George the Animal Steel. Jim Myers was our football coach. And he used to tell us two things. And one was, whether you win or lose, do it with class. In our business, that isn't always an easy thing to do. Politics isn't a sport, it's personal. We're all good people here, people who care deeply about our community, our state, and our country. But during an election, we become sometimes the worst person in the world. Crooked, lazy, incompetent, amoral, immoral, whether it's someone from our own party during a primary or someone from the opposing party during the general election, we as politicians take our lumps, and that's not an easy thing to do. It's easy to be resentful and bitter, and trust me, no one gets that more than I do. Oh, and by the way, the other thing that Coach Myers used to tell us is, win if you can, lose if you must, but always cheat. I didn't think that was a very good theme for this occasion, so I let that one go. But here's the thing, whether we are here or not, there are so many people, whether we are here or not, there are so many people that need help. So much work to be done. A senior with food insecurity, a veteran struggling with mental health issues and homelessness, a child who finds themselves in the most difficult of circumstances through no fault of their own. So many to serve, so much work to be done. With the passing of President Bush, we heard a lot about his belief in selflessness and service. Service to his country and service to his fellow man. President Bush, a one-term president, had reason to be bitter, but instead focused on service. One of the eulogies given at his funeral was by former Senator Alan Simpson, a good friend of his, who said, "Hatred erodes the container it's carried in." You can easily replace the word hatred with bitterness. I suggest, if you're still feeling the sting of leaving here before you were ready to go, or maybe to my friends and colleagues on the Democratic side of the aisle who don't feel like you've been treated fairly by the majority in your time here, I suggest you watch this video, that eulogy, and think about your time here and what you've been able to do while you held the title state representative. You have served so many people, and you have done so much work. We live in arguably the greatest country in the world, certainly the strongest democracy ever created. And yes, we have a lot of problems, but we have since day one. And this is still the place that people from all over the world come to live, to have the opportunity to live the American dream. Now think about that for a second. There is no Russian dream, There is no Chinese dream, but there is only one American dream, and how lucky we are to not only have the opportunity to realize that dream, but to be one of the small handfuls of people that actually have the opportunity to hold the title of state representative and do the work on the issues that help keep the American dream alive. I leave these chambers honored and humbled to have been allowed to serve in this capacity and to have done the work on behalf of my constituents and the people of this great state. And in closing, I leave you with these words paraphrased from the aforementioned comments. Win if you can, lose if you must, but always serve. And for anyone who thinks I'm done serving in the state legislature, well, that ain't all, folks. Thank you very much.